A random Friday show, sandwiched between 2 days off on either side of it.
Sounds like a perfect opportunity for Phil and Frank. That's right, it's a Friday. I'm here, Mike.
A perfect opportunity. What isn't a good opportunity for Phil and Frank?
Any day that they call me. That's how I look as a perfect opportunity. Your best availability.
We like that. Put me in, Coach.
Ability
I'm ready.
is availability. Yeah, something like that.
Welcome to PTI. Tony apparently had other stuff to do. So here to carry his load is our great friend, Mr. Phil and Frank Isola.
Their ability was availability.
That's a Friday Yelp right there.
Nice.
Let's begin, Frank, with the NBA draft. 3 Frenchmen went in the top 10, as did 2 Kentucky Wildcats and 2 UConn Huskies. So, given everything that went down, what were your primary takeaways from the new 2-day draft?
It's amazing, right? I feel like I know more about next year's projected #1 pick, Cooper Flagg, the kid out of Maine, that's going to be at Duke, than I do about Zachary Richasset, who was the #1 overall pick with the Atlanta Hawks, who came out of the French League. The 2 top picks end up coming out of France. It's amazing, too. You know, there's still this bias about these guys that are 22 and 23-year-old college players. You look at Zach Edey going 9th overall to Memphis, and I know that pick was criticized, but Zach Edey got better every year at Purdue. Memphis needs a center. He has a lot of good perimeter defenders on that team in terms of guys like Marcus Smart, assuming he's still going to be there. Desmond Bane. I like that move for Memphis. And then I know we're going to talk a lot about the Lakers' second-round pick, but their first-round pick was pretty good. Dalton Knecht, who dropped to 17. He's another one of these guys, bounced around to a couple of schools, spent 1 year at Tennessee. He's 23 years old. I think the Lakers made out really good. But here's the thing, Mike. With a lot of these names, it kind of reminded me of that draft back in 2013 when Anthony Bennett was the #1 pick. Victor Oladipo was in that draft. There were a lot of guys in that top 10 that didn't really pan out. But at number 15, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah,
so there's going to be a great player that comes out of this draft.
Somewhere.
We just don't know where he is.
Frank, multiple great players.
Yep.
Well, I was just looking at drafts. I was going back to draft with Kyrie Irving, where he was the only one that was terrific in the top 6 or 7. And then you get further down in the draft, and it's boom, boom, boom. I agree with you. That's one of the takeaways now just from the overall draft process. One of my big takeaways, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little critical, is just the hype. I mean, the hype. Everybody's not the best rebounder in the draft, the best shooter in the draft. If he's the best shooter in the draft, why is he being drafted 51st? I mean, it's just, I don't want to rip kids who on their day of, it's like graduation.
I agree.
It's a wonderful thing. I get it. But the hype, I mean, the 2-day nature of it is just dumb. Sorry to the bosses who want to now, take a shot at me. So there are things about the draft, the NFL draft and the NBA draft, it's so hype-filled, you don't know who can play. But I want to say this. There are 2 winners to me. And the New York Knicks, who did their best work before the draft with Mikal Bridges, they get Kolek from Marquette. They just need a guy who can have the ball in his hand and allow Jalen Brunson to get oxygen when Tibbs will allow him out of the game for a minute and a half. And they moved up and they did it. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, I thought they did a terrific job as well. So I'm looking at those teams thinking, wow, here's some playoff teams. And we don't know. Like, some of those kids might not pan out just because they're bigger names. We know them reputation-wise. Doesn't mean they're going to work. But I like going in, Frank, what those teams have done. But, the hype leaves me, I don't know. Everybody's not as good as I kept hearing for 2 days.
You know what? I thought about that during the NFL draft. Back in the day when it was like Paul Zimmerman and it was, Mel Kiper Jr. And I think today, I just think we're more sensitive to everyone's feelings. And I also think we look at it as, because of social media, like within a second you'll go viral. But there's definitely not a lot of, I can't believe they took this guy there. Why would they do that? And I think you're right. Nobody wants to, dump all over these poor kids. A lot who are like 18 and 19 years old. You're 100% right.
Yep.
Speaking of which, on day 2 of the draft, the Lakers used the 55th overall pick to select Bronny James. This could be the first time in NBA history that a father and son play together, assuming, of course, Bronny makes the team and LeBron doesn't opt out of it. So, Mike, what are your expectations for Bronny on the Lakers?
I don't have any. And I'm in a different place than most people on this story. which I just think is the most overanalyzed, overreported story in the last 6 months in sports. Here's what I care about. This is me. It's what I care about. And I care about this as a father of a 16-year-old. Bronny James, a year ago, less than a year ago, had cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
The fact that he is coming into the league at all, G League or not, two-way contract or not, famous father or not, the fact that this young man, who everybody, whenever they interact with him, just talk about how wonderful he is, means his parents have done a hell of a job, standing ovation for that, and he's cleared to play. There's risk involved. I know about this, all right? I got a mother who passed away after cardiac arrest, and in my 40s, a heart attack myself. I'm particularly sensitive to this, and that is the standing ovation I have for Bronny James. All the other stuff, half of it I don't believe. I don't, there's the standing in the Lakers war room when like there was drama. There was no drama. You knew what you were going to do. It was orchestrated. I don't care if he's the first person to play with his father. I don't care. I'd like to hug this kid. The way he comports himself, he's coming back after cardiac arrest. He's done the work. He's diligent. All the things you would want in a kid to represent your franchise. That's what I care about. The rest of it is just more hype. There's too much. What are the Lakers going to do? The Lakers are going to be the Lakers. And Bronny James, what? Bronny James wasn't going to get great parenting if he was playing in Brooklyn or living in Brooklyn. You and I got kids who are going to be scattered. We hope to have direct contact with them wherever they are. So I don't believe he had to just play for the Lakers. But I'm just happy for him.
All right, so I think I look at it a couple of ways. Number one, is it the best thing for the Lakers? And so he's taken 55th overall, which is basically ceremonial, because if he didn't get drafted, he easily could just sign with the Lakers. So this, to me, when you think about what's happened over the past 10 days, week for the Lakers, they hired J.J. Redick, who did a podcast with LeBron. Obviously, LeBron wanted him to be the coach, despite some of the things that you're hearing reported, which none of us believe. And then they draft his son at 55. So if keeping LeBron happy, that's actually good for the Lakers. Now,
it's smart.
Exactly. Now, from the kid's standpoint, is it great for him? Because forget about where he got taken. Does he deserve to be taken? The stats that he put up. Look at it this way. How is he going to be perceived or welcomed by the rest of the team? The guys at the end of the bench. Is he going to now play ahead of me? Is he getting minutes because his father is LeBron and because he handpicked the coach? So from that standpoint, I feel badly for the kid. I think the best thing for him, and I get the whole history of it, but, playing together, it's a great story. You wonder if him going somewhere else might not have been better for him. Because you remember when the Griffeys played together, Ken Griffey Sr. was at the tail end of his career. LeBron is better than his son, and LeBron's going to be 40 on December 30th. It's a little bit different.
These are just their questions. We don't know. But they're worthy questions, real questions. Father-son businesses help build America. Help build the world, but specifically for us. But yet, some of those relationships, it was difficult for the son.
That's right.
I hope the best for him. The rest of it, how the Lakers do, I don't give a damn. I hope the best for Bronny James. Let's move to Copa America, where the U.S. fell to Panama last night, 2-1. The U.S. team played a man down for the most part of the game after Tim Weah earned a red card for the shot he took at Panama's Roderick Miller. Frank, where does all this loss particularly, leave Team USA?
It leaves us in big trouble, is where it leaves us, and it leaves Greg Berhalter in big trouble, because if the U.S. doesn't advance out of the group stage, there's a chance that he could lose his job. So Monday night in Kansas City against Uruguay is a big-time match for this group of players, and certainly for Greg Berhalter, the coach. They need to win the game. And even if they win, you still need something else to go right when Bolivia plays Panama. It's all confusing. The bottom line is the U.S. is going to need to beat Uruguay somehow. If they could beat them 1-0, great. But what happened last night, and Tim Weah is a terrific player. He plays professionally in Italy. His dad, Georgie Weah, goes down as one of the greatest players to never play in a World Cup from Liberia. He was the president there. But you cannot, under any circumstances, get kicked out of a game, Mike, in the 20th minute, and then your team has to play a man down. Then they ended up scoring, taking the lead, and then after Panama drew even, you got to be defensive, and you got to figure out a way to get a tie. And then Cameron Carter-Vickers, the defender that they brought in late, made a mistake. The U.S., last night was a really, really bad night for the U.S. men's team and for Greg Berhalter, the coach.
Well, I mean, Berhalter, I'm glad you segued there because obviously the players wanted him, which is why you had this weird situation of him doubling back and getting a second bite at the apple. But then now what? So if we go out of this, if we, don't go through, what's going to happen then? I mean, people, I guess, and you are on top of this more than I am, calling for his scalp already after last night. I don't know that the U.S. performance in this particular tournament is the end all, but here's what matters to me. We keep hearing, and all of the soccer community keeps telling us how much better we are and how we've closed the gap with the best countries in the rest of the world. And then you get results like this, you go, really?
You're right.
Really? Like you're not persuading me because the results aren't matching, once again, the hype, the promises. So that's what I'm looking at. And by the way, you can't get suckered into a red card there.
You're right.
If you've been warned by your own people about both the referee and the opposing team that likes to set people up for this. And so how do you get trapped like that? How do you get suckered into that?
I know. And I don't want to sound like Luka Doncic here and complain about the referee, but the referee, I thought he had a rough night. And I'll tell you what, they only gave him 4 minutes of stoppage time at the end, and that included a video review for a goal that was taken away and for red cards. I thought the referee, Italy last week or earlier this week got 8 minutes in their game, and they needed all 8 minutes to get the game-tying goal. The U.S. got cheated last night. That should have been about 8 minutes of extra time as well. So it was tough all the way. I don't want to see Greg Berhalter go.
I'm sure.
But, Mike, I'm saying he could be in trouble if they don't win on Monday.
He could be in trouble.
Yep.
That did sound sort of Luka-like. I'm going to let you slide, though. Let's take a break. Coming up, the Knickerbockers add yet another Villanova alum. What's the word for that?
And could Shohei actually win an MVP without pitching or fielding? I can't wait to hear what Mike says about that.
How about that? Yeah, I thought Minnesota getting Shannon.
Really good.
The kid from Illinois. I thought with their second first-round pick.
Yep.
And Dillingham with the first-round pick. I thought Minnesota.
The Knicks trade for Mikal Bridges was blank.
It is challenging. And I don't mean that I'm going to challenge it, Frank, because I'm giving it a standing ovation.
Nice.
A two-way player. It totally gets away from this whole dumb big three thing, which lasted about 10 years too long. This is a kid I wouldn't. You know what? If I had to do the trade all over again from Phoenix to trade Kevin Durant to trade him away to get Durant, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because he's got a value. I'm not saying he's better than Kevin Durant. He's not nearly as good individually. But on that team, he's going to help them challenge the Boston Celtics. Because with him and Anunoby and Josh Hart, they can actually go out and try to guard the Boston Celtics. Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday. They got the pieces, and Thibodeau knows that. And this kid has never missed a game. Yeah. How does that help? Because his coach doesn't want anybody to miss a game ever in life. He already goes into New York as Cal Ripken.
Yep.
He doesn't miss. He can look at Tibbs and say, you can't wear me out, dude. I'm better than that. I'm better than your strategy. Challenging. They're going to challenge the Celtics if they can stay healthy.
See, folks, you have to understand, Mike lives in Chicago. He pretends he's big on Chicago, but he's plugged into the New York sports scene. He loves the two New York basketball teams. That's why it's a win-win. The Brooklyn Nets get a big haul back for a guy that's never been an all-star, and they tried to make him a number one or a two. That isn't what he is. But on the New York Knicks, as a role player, when Phoenix made it to the finals, you could make the case probably the fourth best player in the team behind Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and even DeAndre Ayton, who had a really good playoff that year, by the way.
I agree.
And you're 100% right. Minnesota built a team to try to beat Denver, and they did. Then they beat Dallas, but you're right. The Knicks look at the team in their division, in their conference. You need wing defenders, and that's what the Knicks
wing defenders,
did.
baby. They did it.
Yep.
Cheers to their management. They've been getting ripped for years. I guess the owner, you would know more about this, let them operate as they want to operate. Great job by the Knicks to get this person. People are like, oh, he's not a big name. Shut up.
Nah, you don't need that.
Pay attention.
Derek White wasn't a big name. How'd that work out for Boston?
Wearing a ring.
Yep.
What's next?
It would be blank if Shohei won NL MVP without pitching or fielding.
Listen, as great as Shohei is, and he's great, I'm not voting for a DH to win MVP. I wouldn't do it. And so ill-advised is my hyphenated word, Frank. I don't care how great you are. Here's my exception. There's an exception to everything there should be. If Shohei wins the Triple Crown, and he could, I'd vote for him then. But when I don't vote in baseball. I do vote in the NBA. I wouldn't vote for Papi all those years where he played like 2 games, 5 games, 9 games, 3 games, 5 games as MVP when he was playing with the Red Sox. And I know he was a great player. He was a leader. He was certainly one of the most important people in all of baseball. But I wouldn't have, if you're playing half the game and you're not playing defense, that is why Ted Williams isn't Willie Mays. Because Ted Williams may be the greatest hitter of all time. Shirley Povich, the great Shirley Povich, said that Ted Williams would have a nail file in his glove and file his nails when he was in the outfield. I don't know if that's apocryphal or not, but no, you can't play half the game and be MVP ill-advised.
It's amazing. I'm supposed to be the cynical, miserable hater on the show, not you. How can you say that? I mean, right now, first of all, it's legendary, and it would be historic also if he does it. He's batting .322, first in the majors. He's first in home runs. He's third in RBIs. And, oh, by the way, back in 2005, David Ortiz, a DH, finished second in the MVP voting behind Alex Rodriguez, who had an unbelievable year.
How's that Gold Glove approach coming? Well, wait.
Hang on a second. He also finished 4th in the Cy Young. You know what's going to happen? He's going to be the MVP this year. You're going to be unhappy about it. And down the road, this guy's going to be a Cy Young Award winner. How crazy is that in this day and age?
That's down the road. This is not lifetime achievement projection.
If Dennis Eckersley could be an MVP as a reliever, Shohei Ohtani could be an MVP as a DH. Come on.
If he wins the Triple Crown, I would give him my vote. If not, ill-advised.
He was born in New York.
That is the final hyphenated word. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Texas A&M's baseball coach. What a loser this dude is. Write that down. He bolts for Texas.
And we're about an hour away from the NHL draft. Macklin Celebrini is expected to go first. But who goes next? I think you were born in New York.
A liar,
the Bronx,
a bully,
Manhattan,
and a loser.
Brooklyn.
A loser. All right, people, time to get happy.
Out by Pat Riley, who last month said, keep your mouth shut. Stop talking. Let's show up and play. That's what he needs.
I wonder how that's going to go down. And by the way, playoff Jimmy, it's a real thing. It really is.
Wasn't this year.
I'd happily have that on my team any day. Happy trails to the Hart Trophy for Connor McDavid. He won the Conn Smythe as the MVP of the playoffs, but finished 3rd in the voting for the regular season award. Colorado's Nathan McKinnon won it, with Tampa's Nikita Kucherov finishing 2nd. It's a good night for a different Connor, though, as Bedard of the Blackhawks took home the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year. Bedard was number 1 overall last year in the draft, and the Blackhawks have the number 2 pick overall tonight. Dimmadov is a name I keep hearing.
Connor McDavid has 3 MVPs. He wants 1 trophy. It's the Stanley Cup, and he didn't get it on Monday night. That's all he cares
Let's
about.
run through the big finish. Limited time. Novak Djokovic is in the Wimbledon bracket. Your expectations are what, Frank?
He just had surgery for a torn meniscus. That's why Jannik Sinner is the favorite. Coach Jim Schlossnagle left Texas A&M for Texas 1 day after losing the Men's College World Series. That okay by you?
He's a bully and a fraud, and he ought to be ridiculed at every chance. Frank Benzel had back-to-back holes in one at today's U.S. Senior Open. Impressed?
You know, Tony Kornheiser phoned in and said that Benzel is the pro at Maury Povich's club, and they play together a lot. How about that? Nelly Korda is out of next week's European Tour event after a dog bit her. Your thoughts?
That is awful. She's the person I want to see. Last one, Yankee starter Carlos Rodon has been lit up 3 straight starts. Concerned?
He's given up 20 earned runs in the last 8 2/3 innings. The Yankees are getting rocked. We're out of time. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Isola.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knuckleheads. How about that coach in Texas? What a dog he is. Your sports.
They get rocked later. Mets killed.
And he showed up at Levi's Stadium today to work out. After meeting with the team this week, there's some optimism. In a podcast, Ayuk said he's taking these contract talks personally. Senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler is with us now. What's the latest you're hearing right now with Ayuk and the Niners?
Kevin, this is shaping up to be a pay me or trade me situation because from Ayuk's standpoint, you want a deal that meets what he believes is his market. If the 49ers are not willing to pay that, he knows other teams would. But right now, the 49ers have not shown a willingness to trade him or pay him. The optimal time to trade him would have been around the NFL draft. Camp, made clear the 49ers do want to sign him long term, but we know this market ballooning to that $30 million range. Ayuk has worked his way into top 10 receiver status, so he feels like he's owed that market. 49ers have not been willing to get there so far.
Keep in mind that the 49ers training camp begins on July 23rd. As for the quarterbacks looking to get paid, there's a handful of them this offseason who have gotten paid, and there are 3 looking to get paid. Let's start with Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, we're talking about that $50 million club, right? Tua very well could be next. I keep hearing that Miami is committed to signing Tua. They want to do it. Certainly they're not naive to that $50 million number, and Trevor Lawrence hitting that $55 million recently, so they're going to have to pay up. I believe that they're in the ballpark. It's pretty quiet right now, late June. Teams are kind of taking off, vacation time, hitting the shore and all that, but I expect closer to camp, talks will revamp, and they'll see if they can find that sweet spot. He led the league in passing, so he can say, look, if other guys are getting that number, I got to get it. Jordan Love, a little bit of a different situation because he has the 1-year sample size, but he got incredibly hot late in the year to the point where a lot of scouts and execs I talked to believe he's now a top 10 talent at the quarterback position. That costs, and Brian Gutekunst, the GM, wants to get this done before training camp. Not a slam dunk, but they'll at least work at it. They'd like a little bit of a cleaner process, Kevin, after dealing with Aaron Rodgers in those last few years contractually. Then you got Dak Prescott. This one hangs over the Cowboys. He's got that $55+ million cap hit in the final year of his deal. He doesn't want to go to free agency, but he certainly has to be open to that possibility at this point. I continue to hear Dallas is optimistic that they're going to get this done eventually, but the efforts so far have been pretty passive. This just hasn't heated up yet. They got CeeDee Lamb they got to pay, eventually Micah Parsons. My expectation is that they start with Dak Prescott at some point this summer.
Yeah, because the idea of Dak Prescott hitting the free agent market as an unrestricted free agent, he will reset the quarterback pay scale. Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin.
NBA free agency beginning Sunday. Teams being able to negotiate with players starting at 6 Eastern, and a couple of big names. Klay Thompson entering free agency, second longest tenured player with his current team behind Warriors teammate Steph Curry. Thompson averaged 18 points per game last season, fewest since 2013, was moved to the bench for the first time since his rookie year. James Harden completed his first season with the Clippers after being traded from Philly to LA last November. He averaged over 16 points per alongside Kawhi and Paul George. If he leaves the Clippers, Harden's next team would be his 5th in a span of 5 seasons. Tyrese Maxey is a restricted free agent, coming off the best season of his career with the Sixers, averaged career highs in points and assists, named an All-Star for the first time in his career, won the Most Improved Player award. DeMar DeRozan has averaged at least 20 points in each of his last 11 seasons, tied for the second longest active streak behind LeBron James. Last season, he finished second in clutch player of the year voting behind Steph Curry. Bobby Marks back with us here to break things down. Big weekend in the NBA. What factors are going into weighing where DeRozan goes for free agency?
Yeah, Kevin, the one player we haven't really talked about much is DeMar DeRozan. 92% of the regular season games he's played since he's entered into the NBA. And I think you're certainly looking at re-signing possibly with the Chicago Bulls. But here's the question. Can Chicago unload the 3-year, $137 million owed to Zach LaVine? DeRozan is also looking at what happens in Los Angeles with the Clippers and Paul George. If George goes elsewhere, possibly in a sign-in trade, that opens up another opportunity to maybe for DeRozan to return home.
DeRozan is averaging over 25 points in his Bulls career. Michael Jordan is the only other Bull to do that. Let's stay in the East. The Knicks, they've been very busy this week. Of course, Mikal Bridges locking up OG Anunoby with a 5-year deal. Bridges and Anunoby are both expected to immediately join the starting lineup alongside Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, and Julius Randle, who will be returning from injury. Notable free agents include the backup center Isaiah Hartenstein and the veteran guard Alec Burks. Bobby, when you look at the Knicks' priorities right now and the limited cap space, what do you see?
Yeah, they're operating on a strict budget right now. They are roughly $9 million below the first apron, which basically it hard caps them. They have 4 roster spots. So what can you get with $9 million? I would expect them to sign both their second-round picks and then fill out their roster with 2 players signed to the veteran minimum exception. Of course, the one player I didn't mention was Isaiah Hartenstein. How can Hartenstein resign? I think, Kevin, you would have to look for trade suitors for Mitchell Robinson, their starting center. If they can move Robinson, that gives them an opportunity to bring back Hartenstein.
Don't count out the Knicks front office. They've been fantastic, especially over the last 2 years. This past season, Hartenstein, one of 3 players with 85 blocks and 85 steals, along with Anthony Davis and Victor Wembanyama. Bobby, thank you.